Hey Bookaholics, and welcome back to another video. Today I am bringing you a book tag. It's been a hot minute since we've had a book tag around here. I always do the typical, I do the quarter year crisis, the mid-year crisis, the end of the year tag. I always do those because it's just a easy way to reflect on the year, but I don't really do any of the other tags anymore. And I've been watching my friend Chris over on the Fictional Escapist do tags, and I've been like, do you know what, I miss doing tags. Like, they were all the rage when I first started BookTube, and like when I first started watching BookTube, which was way before I joined. Always been something that I've really enjoyed. It's a great way to get to know people, get to know their tastes, get to know if they work for you. So I figured, why not? Let's do one. So the one that we have today is the rapid fire tag. I don't know how rapid or how fire this is going to be, but here are some thoughts on either or questions. The first thing we have is ebook or physical books. Physical books. I'm always a physical books girly. I do read on my e-reader and I do read on my phone. I do like having the option to read on my phone. If I'm feeling particularly lazy, I can just stay on my phone and switch to the Kindle app. If one had to get obliterated off of the planet, I would definitely stick with my physical books, especially because like a lot of the time when I buy the ebook, if I then give it 4 stars or higher, I'm like, oh, now I want a physical copy of it. So it would actually probably save me money at this point. The next one is paperback or hardback. Controversially, I actually much prefer paperbacks. I don't really like hardbacks. I don't like reading from hardbacks. They look nice on the shelf. Yes, they look nicer on the shelf. I will concede. So if you're a book collector in that sense, in the, you know, I want pretty editions, I totally understand the hardback craze. Could never be me. I have tiny hands and I don't have much strength in my wrists. So anything that is just heavy for a prolonged period of time just makes the reading experience less fun. Also less portable. Like, I can't carry it around with me if it's a hardback. So just generally, I prefer paperbacks. Online or in-store? Now, this is a difficult question for me. I live in the middle of nowhere. Like, I live in rural countryside Spain. There are no bookshops near me. There are some secondhand ones that sell basically James Patterson and Danielle Steele in English. I'm limited physically. When I lived in England, I loved going to charity shops, and I did really enjoy going to Waterstones, and I love going to indie bookshops. They always have like certain quirks that are just the best thing. So if I was somewhere where I could buy books in person and physically, I would definitely be doing that, and I wouldn't bother online. Like, when I lived in England, I think I bought one book online, and it was because I couldn't find it in a charity shop or in Waterstones. I never bought books online. So my preference is in person, but where I live, the only option I have is online. So it depends. Are you asking me what I do most, or are you asking me what I prefer? Trilogies or series? I don't really mind. I like anything. A good standalone, duology, trilogy, long series. I've read them all. I really like extended universes where it's lots of smaller series kind of bunched. I really like those, like Realm of the Eldlings, for example. I think, you know, the prime examples are Realm of the Eldlings and Cosmere for this, where it's like smaller series in an extended universe. You've got extended universes like Malazan, where it's long series in an extended universe. I don't really mind. I guess I'd go with trilogies because they're a great length. I normally am able to read a trilogy comfortably within a month, so I'd be able to get through substantially more series with trilogies. I'm a huge advocate for making the series the length it's supposed to be. Publishers have this idea of trying to push like trilogies are the preferred format, or, you know, they're liking to make them even shorter now. They're really pushing duologies at the moment, and sometimes it's like, yes, this is exactly the length it was supposed to be, be it 10 books or 2 books. But sometimes you can tell that the publisher has meddled. Prime example of this being the Rainwild Chronicles by Robin Hobb. You can tell that the publisher meddled with that series because the pacing is funky, and that is the thing. I think that if it's an organic length, the length it's supposed to be, it's the right length. And we need to stop interfering on that. So less like, do I prefer this or that? And I prefer it being its intended length, not the marketable length. But I would like a load more like really long hench series by women and authors of color. I know my example was Robin Hobb, but she's the only example I can think of that is contemporarily writing long series. We had loads of them back in like the 80s and the 90s, and then we just decided that we don't want long series anymore, and I miss that. And now the only ones that are long are written by men. So I would really like more people of color and women getting a platform where they can write a huge, long, chunky series. But those are completely different side tangents because I don't know how to answer this question. Heroes or villains? Listen, a well-written hero is great. A well-written villain is rare. Villains, especially outright villains, none of this morally grey shit. Like, I love morally grey characters. I am here for morally grey characters. But it's come at the expense of villains, and I think we need villains as well. Like, I don't want mustache twirly villains. I want a really well-crafted villain, just someone who is a horrible person. I think villains, not because like in a romantic sense, not in a romanticized ideal, just because we don't have as many just outright villainous villains who are terrible people who are well crafted and well written. There are less of them, so I'm gonna go with villains on that basis. A book you want everyone to read. I hate these questions. I absolutely hate them because I don't know what your taste is. I don't know what you like. If you trust my taste, then a few of the options would be anything by N.K. Jemisin, Who Fears Death by Nnedi Okorafor, anything by Robin Hobb, actually not anything by Robin Hobb, Rome of the Eldlings by Robin Hobb, anything by Chaos Veloso, anything by Anna Smith Spark. Like, I have so many. Most of them, basically, books that I want everyone to be reading is I want you to be reading marginalized authors, I want you to be reading women, I want you to be reading POC authors, and I want you to be reading trans and queer authors. Because we're finally here. We're finally able to actually get a foot in the publishing industry, and we need to be supporting these authors so that we can continue to have a place in the publishing sphere. So if you're going to go buy a book today on my recommendation, just go pick up one that sings to you, that calls to you, that happens to be by an author of colour, a woman, a queer author, a more marginalised author. That's what I want. Recommend an underrated book. The one I always recommend for this prompt is The Hummingbird's Tear by C.M. Curley. It is a book that became my entire personality, and it is self-pubbed and has very few ratings comparatively on Goodreads, and I absolutely love it. It's a dark epic fantasy. I recently talked about it in my dark fantasy video, my Women in Dark Fantasy video, which I'll leave linked, and I love it so much. And the world building was definitely one of my favorite aspects of it. So if you're big on world building, I'd recommend. The last book you finished. As of filming this, the last book that I finished was Poison Song by Jen Williams, because I'm now knee deep into another book. The last book you bought, I don't know. I think the last one that came in is Master of Gin, probably. P. Jelly Clark. This one is on my friend Rachel's recommendation, although my friend Tim also recommended it, I think, or at least was like encouraging me to read it. It's on a read along, I think. So I will leave their socials linked down below. If you like this book, you'll probably like them, but I don't know anything about it other than that it's got disability representation. I've heard it compared to The Mummy, which is always a buzzword for me because that's one of my favorite movies. But yeah, that's about it. Weirdest thing you've used as a bookmark. Listen, I use bookmarks as bookmarks. They're the only thing. Like, maybe in my teens I might have used like a receipt, like because my mum used to work in a bookshop back when there was a bookshop around here. My mum used to work in a bookshop, so I would go and like use her discount and buy myself a book occasionally. So if I'd forget to bring a bookmark with me, like if I didn't know I was going to go buy a new book, I just spontaneously bought a new book, then sometimes I'd use the receipt from the purchase. But like that's as far as I will go. Like, I do not use, I mean, like if I put a book down for a moment to help a kid, I'll grab maybe like a pen or something, but I only really use bookmarks. I'm very precious of my books. I didn't have much money growing up as a kid, so my books were very, very, very precious to me. They were like gold. So nothing that would even slightly jeopardize the book. It will be a bookmark or some kind of paper that I will have put in there. Used books, yes or no? Yes, I buy books from my secondhand bookshop. It's just that the options here are very limited a lot of the time. Every now and then there'll be an absolute gem in there and be like, perfect, but it's very rare. It's your typical like mass-produced stuff that tends to be in my local bookshop. So I don't have the option, but like I said, when I was in England, I used to go to charity shops all the time, and I used to love buying secondhand books. Top 3 favorite genres. I know my top 2, and then my third one is subject to change on a yearly basis. My top 2 are fantasy and sci-fi. Those are my absolute favorites. Fantasy coming first, especially if you're getting into like really theme-heavy fantasy. That's why I don't really mind the length of the books, because it's more about like what discussion you're having. So then for me, it's like, yeah, the more thematically driven fantasy, and then it's the same but with sci-fi. My third genre varies. Sometimes it's horror, sometimes it's historical fiction, and sometimes it's romance. I'm not saying this in an indecisive way, I mean like literally statistically. So if I go through my core pile, like if I went through all of my years that I've been using core pile, the percentages on genres will vary, and the fantasy is always the dominant one, sci-fi is usually the second one, and then it will be historical fiction, horror, or romance/romantasy. So it varies. It's because it depends on where I am at in my life. So I don't have a concrete third genre. Borrow or buy. I do prefer to buy my books. Again, perfectly fine with it being secondhand, but I do prefer to buy. I want to be able to just have them on my shelves, because I am not a mood reader, but I really do love the anticipation of like looking at my TBR shelves and just being like, soon. I really enjoy that, and obviously you can't get that with borrowing. You kind of are pressured to read it as soon as possible so you can return it. I prefer fermenting. Character or plot? I kind of touched upon this earlier. Themes. Like character, great. Plot, great. But obviously they are important factors, but I want to know why I'm reading this book. What is the purpose of this book? What is this book trying to say to me? Art at the end of the day is conversation. I don't think of art as just something to be loosely admired. It's a conversation. It's supposed to spark something, and it can be very light on that, you know, like a fluffy romance. It's still going to have themes. The themes don't need to be heavy, they just need to be present. I want to know what I'm getting out of this book. Sometimes I'll even disagree with the themes, but they're presented in a way that was interesting and exciting. Sometimes it would just be like a confirmation of things that I already know and think and believe, but reframed in a way that I find entertaining. So the plot is important, the characters are important, but they're not the purpose of reading. They are the dressing under which the themes are brought to the forefront. So you can have like a heavily thematic book that is about interpersonal relationships, be it, for example, the way that familial dynamics can work, or toxic friendships and dismantling that, or found families. A lot of those tend to be discussions around the importance of accepting yourself or accepting others. Those are still huge themes and they're still important things, but those are character-driven themes. And then sometimes it will be an anti-capitalist statement, or it will be about systemic oppression, it will be about eugenics or whatever. And those will tend to be more plot-driven themes. So I don't really care if it's plot-driven or character-driven. I care how it tackles its themes. Long or short books? I generally prefer long books. I'm an epic fantasy reader, so I get more bang for my book. Literally. Bang for my book. Do you get it? No? Okay, fine. Shush. I'm a fast reader. I inherently am a fast reader. I actually can't slow my brain down. I have tried loads of times to read slower. I can't. I lose the thread, and because I'm a very visual reader, it kind of plays out like a movie in my head. So if I slow down, it's kind of like watching a movie in slow motion. It's weird. I don't like it. So I'm a really fast reader. What comes with being a fast reader is that you get through a lot of books. So obviously the bigger the book, the more time I'm spending with it, the more immersed I'm getting into it. So for me personally, long books. Long or short chapters? See, this is where I'm the opposite. I prefer short chapters. Because it's such a visual experience for me, I do kind of like to come back to reality. So I will get to the end of a chapter and then I'll like dissociate for a second and then I'll go back in. I prefer short chapters because then it gives me breathers. Also, I tend to read so much quicker when it's short chapters, because I'll just be like, I can just read one more chapter. It's only going to take me 20 minutes, and then it's 3 o'clock in the morning. So short chapters. Name the first 3 books you can think of right now. Okay, well, I'm currently reading the sequel to Kavithri, so Kavithri, one of my favourite books of last year. The Iron Crown, because the 3rd book is coming out this year, and I am obnoxiously excited. And Children of Gods and Fighting Men, because it's a series I really, really want to get to. Books that made you laugh or cry. I am quite an emotional reader, so I cry quite a lot. I don't laugh very much at books. The one book I can always say definitely made me laugh out loud is The Hollow Places by T. Kingfisher. And I hear you, you're like, Faye, that's a horror book, what's wrong with you? It's hilarious, all right? And it's deliberately hilarious. So I'm not laughing at someone's leg falling off or something. It's hilarious. It's horror comedy. It's so funny because you're so nervous and you're so uncomfortable, and then there'll be something that will make you laugh, and it's just, the emotional juxtaposition of that is brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And I would highly recommend you check this out if you're weird like me, I suppose. But then a book that's made me cry, the most recent one to make me cry was Poison Song by Jen Williams, one of the 2 that I think I just finished. It's the end of a series, so it's very emotional, and yeah, I kept crying throughout the last, I don't know, maybe 100 pages. I don't know. Our world or fictional worlds? Have you seen Our World? Have you? Really? Has anyone has anyone chosen this world? Like, literally, if I go into a fantasy world, yes, I might die of the plague, but at least Donald Trump isn't there, you know? Dumb question. Audiobooks, yes or no? Yes, I like audiobooks. I am not a huge audiobook fan. I know a lot of people that read like almost entirely through audiobook. I know that my friend Mare reads mostly via audiobook. I think my friend Terry does as well. It can never be me. I can do maybe one audiobook a month, and that's a push. Like, there are months where I don't read a single audiobook. I think so far this year I've read 2 audiobooks? Question mark? Maybe just one. Maybe the other one was in December. Anyway, I'll read that many. I like them. They're good to have on. So, for example, I'm doing the Magical Readathon. I know that this video has come out substantially later because I pre-filmed my videos, but when I did Magical Readathon in April, I had one audiobook that I listened to throughout the whole month, and that was to accomplish a prompt. And it was basically just whenever I couldn't be reading physically, like if I was cooking or cleaning or journaling, if I was in the car, or because I get nauseous if I read in the car, bang an audiobook on. Yeah, they have their purpose, and I do enjoy them. They're just not really my preferred method. Like, if someone said you can never read an audiobook again, I wouldn't. It wouldn't be the end of the world. It would just kind of slow down the amount of books I can fit into a really crammed month. Ever judge a book by its cover? Listen, the expression never judge a book by its cover is the most ridiculous expression that has ever existed. The purpose of a book cover is for you to ascertain your interest in the book. Like, that's its purpose, right? Like, back in Victorian times, where all of the covers were just in green canvas, sure, fine. But like, nowadays, you can determine the genre of a book by the cover, right? And the title. You can discern the age range. You can discern if it's going to be of interest to you. Now, of course, occasionally there are stories where I'm like, don't like the cover, but the synopsis sounds interesting. But the point of the cover is to draw you in. It's to literally be like, this might be for you, based on this art style, based on what's depicted here. So is it such a like, what do you think covers are for? So yes, I judge books by their covers, as is intended. Book to movie or book to TV show adaptation. Whatever suits the story. I know I'm not actually answering any of these questions, but whatever suits the story, right? Like, if it's a really long book or a really long series, then obviously a TV show. If it's a standalone, it's weird if you try and eke it out. For me, there have been times where both have been done badly. And even like series of movies, like look at The Hobbit. And for those of you who like The Hobbit, I love that for you. Fantastic. You've got more Tolkien content. But for real, like, the book is 300 pages. 300 pages. And they got a trilogy of 3-hour films out of it. And you can feel that. Because the first one was great. And then the second and third one, it's just eking it out to Kingdom Come. It's like, oh my God, nothing has happened in 2 hours. Like, it's terrible. It's garbage. Don't do that. Don't eke it out. But at the same time, you've had movies like Aragon where they've like smooshed so much in there that it's like, here you go. You're like, okay, where's the rest of my story? So it depends. But when they're done well, like the first few seasons of Game of Thrones, like Princess Bride, fucking brilliant. It depends. If it's done well, it doesn't. But there are different formats that suit different stories. So saying like I prefer one or the other, it depends on the story. Like, don't eke it out, but at the same time, make sure you're getting all the content in there. A movie or TV show that you preferred to the book. We don't talk about this author, but I do prefer the Stardust movie over the Stardust book anyway, even before he was an asshole. And The Princess Bride. The Princess Bride is actually better. I like The Princess Bride book. It's a great book. And it's slightly different to the movie one. I love the film. And the author does as well. Like, the author prefers the film. So yeah, those two would be my obvious choices. And the last one, series or standalone. I feel like we already kind of covered this, but it depends on like the intended length. One of my problems with Priory of the Orange Tree, when it was pitched as a standalone before all of the other sequels started coming out, is that it should have been a series. It was sold to you as an epic fantasy, but a standalone. You know, everyone went, standalone! And then it wasn't. It was 2 books that had been squeezed into a book, held their breath, and tried to fit into this one book. And it didn't work, and the pacing was funky because of it. And again, if you love this book, fantastic. No shade. Just how I felt about the book is it could have been a duology very comfortably. And then there are sometimes series where you're just like, wow, that middle book was not necessary. It's just prolonged things for no reason. Like, the first half of this could have been tacked on in 50 pages at the end of book 1, and the latter half of this could have been tacked on as 50 pages at the beginning of book 3. Just make books that are the size they're supposed to be. But I am a-okay with anything from a standalone to like a 16-book series, so long as it feels like it's supposed to be that length. And there you have it. I'm not tagging anyone. I have mentioned some people who I will leave link down below. Everyone I have mentioned throughout this video linked down below in case you want to check out any of their channels. But I'm not tagging anyone. Do it if you want to. If you see this tag and you really want to do it, tag, you're in. But that is all from me for today. So thank you ever so much for watching, and I'll hopefully catch you in another one soon. Bye.